GOP financier from California, Dan Palmer. Dan, nice to see you. You listen to Mick Mulvaney and the Republicans talk about this. They started at $25 billion. Now it's $5 billion. Now sources are saying it's somewhere around demanding $2.5 billion, maybe a little bit more. Matt Gaetz was on a couple of days ago saying all we need is a crooked number. You negotiate a lot of real estate deals. It feels like Republicans are almost negotiating against themselves here.
I don't like the way the Democrats have framed the debate. It's this number, it's that number. This is a national security issue, and I think this hiatus while Nancy Pelosi is relaxing on the beach in Hawaii and the American public is spending time with their family has provided a window for the president to reflect on how this debate has been framed. If he frames this correctly as a national security matter, cost is frankly irrelevant. Nancy Pelosi wants to make this a moral argument. The moral imperative couldn't have been more clearly stated than with the death of this officer in California. Yeah. This is a complete outrage from a national security standpoint, and cost is absolutely irrelevant.
You talk in terms of the president reflecting on how to discuss this. This was from Politico this morning talking about the president. He stayed home from Florida but hardly appeared on television or in public. If you're going to do the, quote, I'm working thing, shouldn't you just do it and sit at a table with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer place cards and empty chairs?
That sounds like a lot of optics. I think the substance is the key. The fact is that the United States has a national security
This debate is
imperative.
about optics, Dan. No, I mean that's if arguably President Trump is the best guy, best politician in a very long time when it comes to optics.
He has certainly television skills and is good at the optics, but this is really about the substance. For Democrats who have front doors, i.e. a passive physical barrier to entry to their house, to argue that a passive physical barrier on the border would be ineffective is ludicrous. For them to argue that the cost is too high demonstrates that they're just terrible with math. This wall at $20 billion equates to $60 per U.S. citizen. The cost of an illegal immigrant over their lifetime in the United States is $130,000. Given 30 years of unrestricted border crossings, that's over $5 trillion.
You're making a very clear and convincing argument that's different than one we're hearing from almost every member of Congress, certainly than the one we're hearing from the president. Why aren't we hearing this cost doesn't matter, just build it argument?
Well, I think that's a tactical mistake. The Democrats have set a trap and the Republicans have fallen into it. This is a typical dynamic with these shutdowns. This is a national security issue. Cost is irrelevant, and the cost happens to be a good investment. A $20 billion wall equates to $6 per hour per U.S. worker in increased wages. Don't we think that restricting the flow of unskilled laborers into the market each year is going to improve American wages by more than 6 cents? I do. That's just 1 year. Every year thereafter is profit. So for a government that spends $13,500 per year per person to incur a liability over the last 30 years of $15,000 per person with unregulated migration is ludicrous.
The president just tweeted this a couple of minutes ago. Any deaths of children or others at the border are strictly the fault of Democrats and their pathetic immigration policies that allow people to make the long trek thinking they can enter our country illegally. They can't. If we had a wall, they wouldn't even try. The 2 children in question, talking about the 2 children who died there, were very sick. Before they were given to Border Patrol, the father of a young girl said it was not their fault. He hadn't given her water in days. Border Patrol needs the wall, and it will end. They're working so hard and get so little credit. Again, though, we're not hearing this drumbeat from the president, frankly, of saying we're going to shut down the government for as long as we need to because it's a national security threat, and therefore I want my $25 billion. I want a blank check. The government can stay closed for as long as it needs to. Is that the argument you suggest he makes?
I think that he is, with that tweet, attempting to underscore the hypocrisy of the Democratic position. They're attempting to take the moral high ground, and they suggest that these tragic incidents of these young children dying on the border is somehow a demonstration that the president is morally bankrupt on the issue. Nothing could be further from the truth. Turning off the magnet of the ability to enter this country on foot without obstacle is the reason why these people begin this journey. They need to turn off the magnet. I think that the moral argument here has to do with protecting American citizens. We see this evidence with these angel tragedies. You know, we saw it with Kate Steinle. We saw it with the officer in California. These are but two of numerous instances where United States lives are put at risk because we don't have a passive physical barrier on the border. Any Democrat who has a front door is a hypocrite.
You heard Steve Pomerantz, formerly the FBI assistant director, sort of make a similar argument in terms of the way law enforcement is being put on the front lines on this and put in much greater danger because of a lack of laws about this. All right, Dan Palmer from Los Angeles. Dan, interesting arguments. Thank you.
Thank you, Leland.